God says, "Do not ignore my blessings, this message is for you," and Archangel Michael is delivering it directly, asking you to finally notice what has been quietly present in your life, waiting patiently for your genuine acknowledgement rather than continuing to pass by unnoticed the way blessings so often do amid the busyness and difficulty of ordinary daily life. Stay with this message. Do not close it and return immediately to whatever else was occupying your attention a moment ago. Something has been offered to you, repeatedly, in forms both large and small, and this message exists to help you finally see what has likely been overlooked, not because you are careless or ungrateful, but because noticing genuine blessing requires a particular kind of attention that busy, difficult daily life rarely offers space for naturally. Breathe slowly. Let your body settle into stillness. Whatever has filled your attention recently, whatever difficulty or distraction has claimed your focus, set it aside for these next several minutes, because what follows deserves genuine presence rather than the passing, distracted engagement most content receives during an ordinary day. Here is the warning this message carries: honest rather than dramatic, practical rather than merely spiritual in an abstract sense. When blessings go consistently unnoticed and unacknowledged, something genuine is lost, not punishment in any dramatic sense, but a quieter, more practical loss, the loss of the gratitude, perspective, and genuine appreciation that noticing blessing actually cultivates within a person over time. A life lived without this cultivated gratitude tends to feel flatter, more exhausting, more consistently focused on lack and difficulty than a life in which genuine blessing, however small, receives consistent, honest acknowledgement. This is the genuine stake of this particular warning, not fear of divine punishment, but genuine concern for your own well-being, recognizing that ignored blessing tends to compound into a particular kind of chronic dissatisfaction that touches nearly every area of life, regardless of how many objectively good things continue to exist within that life, unnoticed and unappreciated. Reflect honestly on what specific blessings have likely been present in your life recently, ones you may have overlooked amid difficulty, busyness, or simply habitual pattern of attention that tends to focus more consistently on problems than on genuine good already present. Perhaps a specific relationship that offers genuine support and care, taken somewhat for granted through sheer familiarity. Perhaps a specific skill or capability you possess that continues serving you well, rarely receiving conscious appreciation simply because it has become so automatic and familiar. Perhaps a specific opportunity that opened at some point, offering genuine possibility that continues developing even if you have not fully paused to acknowledge its ongoing significance and value. Give yourself genuine time with this reflection rather than rushing toward whatever answer first comes to mind. Sometimes the most significant blessing is not the most obvious one, but rather something quieter, something that has become so woven into ordinary daily life that it barely registers as something worth genuine, conscious appreciation, precisely because its consistent presence has made it feel almost invisible despite its genuine, ongoing significance and value. Perhaps something simpler, physical health that continues functioning reasonably well, a roof that continues providing shelter, food that continues being available, none of which feel remarkable specifically because they have never been genuinely absent, and therefore rarely receive the conscious gratitude that their genuine, ongoing presence actually deserves. Whatever specific blessings arose as you considered these possibilities, hold them clearly in mind as you continue through this reflection, because this message is specifically asking you to finally, genuinely acknowledge them, rather than continuing to let them pass by unnoticed the way they likely have been passing by until this particular moment of reflection. Here is something worth understanding about why blessings so consistently go unnoticed, despite genuinely existing within nearly every person's life, regardless of how difficult their overall circumstances might currently be. Human attention naturally tends toward threat and problem, an evolutionary pattern that once served genuine survival purposes, prioritizing awareness of danger and difficulty over awareness of safety and sufficiency. This ancient pattern continues operating within modern daily life, even though modern daily difficulties rarely involve the same immediate survival stakes that originally shaped this particular attentional bias. Picture how a distant ancestor's attention would have naturally prioritized noticing a potential predator over noticing a beautiful sunset, since failing to notice danger carried far more severe, immediate consequences than failing to notice beauty or sufficiency. This same underlying attentional machinery continues operating within your own mind today, even though modern life rarely presents the same kind of immediate physical danger that originally shaped this particular evolutionary pattern of attention and awareness. This means noticing blessing typically requires deliberate, conscious effort, working somewhat against this natural attentional tendency toward problem and threat. Without this deliberate effort, genuine blessing tends to remain in the unnoticed background, present but unacknowledged, while attention continues automatically gravitating toward whatever difficulty currently demands the most immediate concern and response. Understanding this pattern removes some of the potential shame that might otherwise accompany recognizing how much genuine blessing has likely gone unnoticed in your own particular life. This is not a personal failing unique to you. It reflects something universal about how human attention naturally operates, correctable through deliberate practice rather than requiring you to fundamentally change some flawed aspect of your own particular character or capability. Here is something worth understanding about what genuinely acknowledging blessing actually requires, since simply hearing this message's encouragement abstractly, without concrete engagement, accomplishes relatively little toward the genuine shift in attention and gratitude this message is encouraging throughout its content. Genuine acknowledgement requires deliberate, specific noticing, naming particular blessings clearly rather than allowing gratitude to remain vague and general, easily dismissed as simply nice sentiment rather than genuine, transformative practice. Consider taking a moment right now, specifically, to name 3 particular blessings present in your current life, as concretely and specifically as you genuinely can. Not vague categories like health or relationships, but specific instances, a particular person who showed you particular kindness recently, a particular capability that served you well in a particular situation, a particular moment of unexpected ease or beauty that punctuated an otherwise difficult day or week. This specificity matters significantly, because vague gratitude tends to remain abstract and relatively unfelt, while specific gratitude tends to actually shift internal experience in genuine, felt, meaningful ways, precisely because it requires actually engaging your attention with a real, particular instance rather than simply gesturing generally toward broad categories that remain somewhat disconnected from concrete, lived experience. Here is something worth understanding about the specific relationship between acknowledging blessing and continuing to hold genuine, difficult challenges honestly, since this message is not suggesting you deny or minimize genuine difficulty in favor of forced, unrealistic positivity that pretends everything is simply fine when significant challenges genuinely remain present in your life. Genuine gratitude and genuine acknowledgement of difficulty are not mutually exclusive. Both can, and often do, exist simultaneously within the same honest, complete picture of your actual circumstances. Consider what it would mean to hold both simultaneously, acknowledging specific blessings clearly while also continuing to honestly engage with whatever genuine difficulties remain present in your particular life and circumstances. This balanced approach tends to prove more sustainable and more accurate than either extreme alone, whether that extreme is exclusive focus on difficulty that overlooks genuine blessing entirely, or forced, unrealistic positivity that denies genuine, ongoing challenge in favor of artificial cheerfulness that does not actually reflect your complete, honest experience. Here is something worth understanding about the specific practice of gratitude, since this practice, while simple in concept, genuinely benefits from consistent, deliberate engagement rather than remaining a single, isolated moment of reflection like this one alone. Consider what specific daily or weekly practice might help you continue noticing and acknowledging blessing beyond this single reflection, something brief enough to sustain consistently rather than elaborate enough to likely be abandoned once initial motivation naturally fades over time. Perhaps a few minutes each evening, naming 3 specific things from that particular day worth genuine appreciation, however small they might initially seem. Perhaps a simple, brief note, written regularly, capturing specific moments of blessing as they occur throughout your ordinary days rather than waiting to remember them retrospectively at the end of each day or week. Perhaps simply a conscious practice of pausing, briefly, whenever you notice something genuinely good, allowing yourself a moment of genuine appreciation rather than immediately moving on toward whatever comes next without ever fully registering that moment's genuine value and significance. Here is something worth understanding about why this particular practice, gratitude specifically, carries genuine, practical significance beyond simply feeling pleasant in the moment it occurs. Consistent, deliberate gratitude practice has been connected, through both personal experience across countless individuals and more formal research and observation, to improved overall well-being, improved relationships, and even improved capacity to navigate genuine difficulty when it inevitably arises throughout ongoing life. This does not mean gratitude functions as some magical solution eliminating all genuine difficulty from your life. It means gratitude functions as a genuine, practical resource, strengthening your overall capacity for resilience and well-being, making genuine difficulty, when it arises, somewhat more manageable than it would otherwise be without this cultivated foundation of consistent, deliberate appreciation for whatever genuine blessing already exists within your particular life and circumstances. Here is something worth understanding about the specific relationship between blessing and responsibility, since genuinely acknowledging blessing often naturally invites some form of corresponding responsibility, not obligation imposed from outside, but a genuine, internal sense that blessing received deserves some form of genuine stewardship or sharing, rather than simply being consumed or taken for granted without any corresponding awareness of its genuine significance and value. Consider what specific blessing in your own life might genuinely invite this kind of corresponding stewardship or responsibility. Perhaps a particular skill or capability that could genuinely benefit others if shared more intentionally. Perhaps a particular relationship that could be nurtured more consciously, given genuine acknowledgement of how much it actually contributes to your overall well-being and daily experience. Perhaps simply a general capacity for gratitude that, once cultivated more consciously within yourself, could genuinely be modeled and shared with others in your life who might also benefit from this same kind of deliberate, conscious appreciation and acknowledgement. Here is something worth understanding about specific blessing that often goes particularly unnoticed, precisely because it involves ordinary, consistent presence rather than dramatic, singular event. Many people readily notice and appreciate dramatic, positive events, a significant achievement, an exciting opportunity, a memorable celebration. Fewer people consistently notice and appreciate the quieter, ongoing blessing of simple, consistent presence, a friend who consistently shows up, a body that consistently functions reasonably well, a mind that consistently allows continued learning and growth, none of which feel remarkable specifically because they remain consistently, quietly present rather than announcing themselves dramatically the way singular positive events typically do. Reflect on what specific ongoing, consistent presence in your own life might deserve this kind of quieter, but equally genuine, acknowledgement and appreciation. This particular category of blessing often proves especially valuable to consciously notice, precisely because its very consistency makes it particularly easy to take for granted, remaining unnoticed simply because it has never genuinely been absent in a way that would force conscious awareness of its actual, ongoing significance and value. Here is something worth understanding about blessing that arrives disguised as difficulty, a category worth examining honestly since it often proves the most challenging kind of blessing to genuinely recognize and acknowledge. Sometimes, in retrospect, genuine difficulty eventually reveals itself as having contained genuine blessing within it, growth, clarity, resilience, or redirection towards something ultimately more fitting than whatever path the original difficulty initially interrupted or complicated. This does not mean every difficulty should be immediately reframed as secretly positive, minimizing genuine pain before it has been fully processed and honored as genuinely difficult in its own right. It means holding genuine openness to the possibility that some current difficulties may eventually reveal blessing within them, becoming visible only with sufficient time and hindsight, rather than requiring immediate, forced recognition before you have genuinely processed whatever difficulty currently remains present and unresolved in your particular circumstances. Consider whether any past difficulty in your own life has eventually revealed this kind of hidden blessing, evidence that this pattern, while not guaranteed in every single instance, does genuinely occur often enough to warrant holding it as a real possibility regarding whatever current difficulty you may currently be navigating, without requiring you to force this particular interpretation prematurely before genuine processing of that current difficulty has had sufficient opportunity to unfold. Naturally. Here is something worth understanding about the specific role other people play in delivering blessing, since blessing often arrives not through dramatic, singular event, but through the ordinary kindness, support, and presence of people within your own particular life and community. Consider what specific people have offered you genuine blessing recently, through their words, their actions, their simple presence and care, blessing that may have gone somewhat unacknowledged simply because it arrived through ordinary human relationship rather than through some more dramatic, obviously spiritual channel. Reflect on whether you have genuinely expressed appreciation to these particular people recently, or whether this appreciation has remained purely internal, unspoken, never actually communicated to the people who have genuinely offered you this particular blessing through their consistent presence, kindness, and care. Consider what it would mean to genuinely express this appreciation directly, whether through words, through a specific action, or simply through more conscious, attentive presence within that particular relationship moving forward. Here is something worth understanding about self-blessing, a category people frequently overlook entirely, focusing exclusively on blessing that arrives from external sources while overlooking their own genuine contribution to their own well-being in positive circumstances. Consider what specific choices, efforts, or qualities within yourself have genuinely contributed to whatever positive circumstances currently exist within your life, rather than assuming all genuine blessing arrives purely from external sources beyond your own genuine agency and contribution. This is not meant to encourage excessive self-focus that overlooks genuine external support and circumstance. It simply invites honest acknowledgement that you, too, deserve genuine credit and appreciation for whatever positive qualities, efforts, and choices have genuinely contributed to your own current circumstances, alongside whatever external blessing and support has also genuinely contributed alongside your own genuine effort and capability. Here is something worth understanding about blessing that remains genuinely difficult to see clearly while you remain in the midst of significant ongoing struggle, since this message does not want to suggest that everyone currently navigating genuine, significant hardship should easily locate abundant blessing throughout their current circumstances without acknowledging how genuinely difficult this particular task can prove during especially challenging periods of life. If your own current circumstances feel significantly, genuinely difficult, this message is not suggesting you force yourself toward gratitude that does not feel authentic or accessible given your actual, current experience. It is simply inviting whatever small, genuine acknowledgement feels authentically available to you right now, even if that acknowledgement remains quite modest given your particular circumstances, trusting that even small, genuine gratitude, held honestly alongside genuine acknowledgement of significant difficulty, offers real value without requiring you to force disproportionate positivity that does not accurately reflect your actual, current lived experience. Here is something worth understanding about the specific timing of this message, why it arrives specifically now rather than at some other point in your ongoing life. Messages of this kind often arrive precisely when a person has drifted furthest from conscious gratitude, precisely when the pattern of overlooking genuine blessing has become most habitual and most costly to overall well-being, offering a genuine opportunity to interrupt that pattern before it continues compounding further into an even more entrenched, more costly habitual pattern of overlooking genuine good already present within daily life and circumstances. Consider whether this timing resonates with your own particular experience, whether you have indeed drifted somewhat from conscious gratitude recently, caught up in difficulty, busyness, or simply the ordinary momentum of daily life that naturally tends to crowd out this particular kind of deliberate, conscious reflection and appreciation. Here is something worth understanding about what genuinely changes once blessing receives consistent, conscious acknowledgement, benefits that extend considerably beyond simply feeling pleasant in any single given moment. Consistent gratitude practice tends to shift overall perspective gradually over time, making genuine difficulty, when it feels somewhat more manageable, held within a broader context that includes genuine blessing alongside genuine challenge, rather than difficulty existing in isolation, unbalanced by any conscious awareness of genuine good also simultaneously present within your particular life and circumstances. Consider what specific shift in your own overall perspective and daily experience might genuinely result from consistently practicing this kind of deliberate gratitude and blessing acknowledgement over an extended period, imagining, as specifically as you genuinely can, how your daily experience might feel different were this practice genuinely integrated into your ongoing life rather than remaining simply a single, isolated reflection like this one alone. Here is a further consideration worth holding as you continue engaging with this particular message and its central invitation toward genuine gratitude and blessing acknowledgement. This message is not suggesting that gratitude alone resolves genuine, significant problems requiring practical action and engagement. Gratitude and practical problem solving are not mutually exclusive, nor does genuine gratitude replace whatever concrete action your particular circumstances genuinely require moving forward. Consider what it would mean to hold both simultaneously, genuine gratitude for existing blessing alongside continued, practical engagement with whatever genuine challenges remain present and require your ongoing attention and effort. This combination, rather than either extreme alone, tends to serve overall well-being and effective navigation of life's genuine complexity considerably more effectively than either pure gratitude practice disconnected from practical action, or pure practical focus disconnected from any genuine appreciation for existing blessing already present within your particular circumstances. Here is something worth understanding about sharing this particular practice with others in your life, since gratitude, like many genuinely valuable practices, often deepens and strengthens through being shared and practiced together with others rather than remaining a purely private, individual exercise. Consider whether specific people in your life, whether family, friends, or others within your particular community, might genuinely benefit from this same invitation toward conscious gratitude and blessing acknowledgement. This does not require formal, elaborate sharing. It might simply mean occasionally mentioning something you genuinely appreciate to someone else, modeling this particular practice through your own consistent example rather than through any explicit encouragement or instruction directed toward them specifically. Genuine gratitude, expressed naturally and consistently, often proves contagious in valuable, positive ways, gradually influencing the broader emotional tone of relationships and communities in which it becomes genuinely, consistently present. Here is something worth understanding about maintaining this practice through genuinely difficult periods, since gratitude practice often proves most valuable, and simultaneously most difficult to maintain, precisely during periods of significant genuine hardship when attention naturally gravitates most strongly toward difficulty and away from whatever blessing might still genuinely exist alongside that difficulty. Consider developing, in advance, a specific, simplified version of this practice you could maintain even during particularly difficult periods, something requiring minimal effort yet still providing genuine, if modest, connection to whatever blessing remains present even during significant hardship. This might mean simply naming one single thing each day, however small, worth genuine appreciation, rather than requiring the more extensive practice you might maintain during easier periods of your ongoing life. Consider the specific role that comparison plays in preventing genuine recognition of blessing, since measuring your own particular circumstances against other people's apparent, often incomplete and curated, circumstances tends to obscure genuine appreciation for what actually exists within your own particular life. Someone else's apparently more impressive achievement, more comfortable financial circumstance, or seemingly more harmonious relationship can quietly convince you that your own genuine blessing somehow does not count or does not deserve genuine appreciation simply because it appears less impressive when measured against this incomplete, external comparison. Reflect on whether this pattern of comparison has been operating in your own life, quietly diminishing genuine appreciation for blessing that would otherwise feel genuinely significant if considered on its own terms, without the distorting influence of comparison to others' circumstances that may bear little genuine resemblance to the complete reality of their own particular lives and struggles. Examine, too, what specific role expectation plays in shaping how readily you notice and appreciate blessing, since blessing that falls short of some specific, prior expectation often receives less genuine appreciation than it would deserve considered entirely on its own terms, disconnected from whatever specific expectation initially shaped how you evaluated its actual, genuine significance and value. Consider a specific blessing in your own life that might have initially disappointed you relative to some prior expectation, yet that, considered honestly on its own terms without that particular comparison, actually represents something genuinely valuable and worth authentic appreciation. Releasing attachment to specific prior expectations, at least enough to genuinely evaluate blessing on its own actual terms, often reveals considerably more genuine good already present within your particular circumstances than continued attachment to those specific expectations would otherwise allow you to recognize and appreciate. Think about what specific role your current physical and mental state plays in your capacity to notice blessing, since chronic exhaustion, unaddressed stress, or significant emotional difficulty genuinely limits available capacity for the kind of open, appreciative attention that noticing blessing typically requires. If your own capacity for gratitude feels significantly limited right now, this may reflect genuine depletion requiring attention and care, rather than simply a character flaw or failure of appropriate appreciation and perspective. Consider what specific self-care might genuinely support your capacity for gratitude moving forward, recognizing that adequate rest, adequate nourishment, and adequate emotional support often prove foundational for the kind of open, appreciative attention this message has been encouraging throughout its content, rather than gratitude functioning as something you should simply force through sheer willpower regardless of your current physical and emotional depletion and genuine needs. Explore, as well, what specific role your current environment plays in either supporting or undermining consistent gratitude practice, since environment shapes attention and mood considerably more than most people initially recognize. A cluttered, chaotic physical environment, a social circle that consistently emphasizes complaint and difficulty without corresponding genuine appreciation, or a media diet heavily weighted toward negative content, can all quietly work against consistent gratitude practice, regardless of how genuinely committed you feel toward cultivating this particular practice in principle. Consider what small adjustments to your current environment might genuinely support your continued practice of conscious gratitude, whether through simplifying physical space, spending more intentional time with people who model genuine appreciation, or consciously limiting exposure to content that consistently emphasizes difficulty and complaint without corresponding balance toward genuine, existing good. Here is a final significant consideration before this message moves toward its close. Blessing, genuinely acknowledged and appreciated, does not require perfect circumstances or the complete absence of genuine difficulty in order to be authentically present and worth genuine, conscious recognition. Blessing and difficulty regularly coexist within the same honest, complete life, and learning to hold both simultaneously, rather than allowing difficulty to entirely obscure genuine blessing, represents genuine wisdom worth cultivating deliberately over time. Release whatever guilt might arise regarding how much blessing has likely gone unacknowledged until this particular moment of reflection. Guilt does not accelerate genuine gratitude practice. It simply adds unnecessary additional weight on top of whatever difficulty already exists in shifting toward more consistent, conscious appreciation. Approach this moment instead with genuine self-compassion, recognizing that overlooking blessing reflects a common, nearly universal human pattern rather than any particular personal failing unique to you, alongside genuine readiness to begin, or continue, cultivating this valuable practice moving forward. Before this message reaches its true close, take one final moment for yourself, genuinely absorbing what has emerged throughout this reflection rather than rushing immediately toward whatever comes next in your day. Name, specifically, 3 particular blessings currently present in your life that this reflection has helped you more consciously notice and appreciate. Name, specifically, 1 small practice you intend to begin or continue, helping ensure this moment of genuine gratitude extends beyond this single reflection into your ongoing, daily life and experience. This does not need to feel dramatic or overwhelming in order to matter significantly. It simply needs to feel genuine, honest engagement with whatever blessing this reflection has helped you more consciously recognize, rather than either dismissing this content entirely or forcing artificial positivity that does not genuinely reflect your actual, complete circumstances and experience. Trust that this particular message reached you today for a genuine reason, connecting specifically to blessing already present within your own actual life, rather than arriving randomly or without genuine relevance to your particular circumstances. Something in you recognized enough genuine significance to continue reading this far, past the point where you might have closed this message earlier had it genuinely carried no connection to anything real and meaningful currently present in your own life and circumstances. Consider, too, what it might mean to continue this practice of conscious gratitude beyond today, returning periodically to specifically name and appreciate whatever blessing continues to exist within your ongoing life and circumstances, rather than allowing this single reflection to remain an isolated instance quickly forgotten once ordinary daily busyness reasserts its usual claim on your attention and focus. Reflect, as well, on what specific role this practice might play during future periods of genuine difficulty, offering you a resource, cultivated now during whatever current circumstances allow for this particular reflection, that will likely prove valuable during future challenging periods when consciously accessing gratitude may prove considerably more difficult without this kind of prior, deliberate cultivation and practice already established within your ongoing life and daily habits. Consider what specific record you might keep regarding this particular practice, whether a simple gratitude journal, brief notes maintained regularly, or simply a consistent, internal practice of pausing to notice and appreciate specific blessing as it occurs throughout your ordinary days. This record, whatever specific form it takes, becomes valuable not only in the present moment, but also later, offering a resource you can return to during more difficult periods, evidence of genuine blessing that has existed throughout your life, evidence that can prove considerably harder to fully access through memory alone without this kind of ongoing, deliberate documentation and practice. Think about what genuine transformation might look like over the coming months as this practice, if genuinely maintained, continues developing and deepening within your ongoing daily life and experience. Genuine gratitude practice rarely produces dramatic, immediate transformation within a single reflection or even a single week of consistent practice. It typically produces gradual, cumulative shift, becoming more clearly visible only with sufficient time and consistent, sustained engagement over an extended period. Consider, finally, what it would mean to trust this process, even without complete certainty about exactly how significantly it will ultimately shift your overall experience and perspective over time. Trust here does not require abandoning reasonable expectations or forcing yourself toward premature certainty about outcomes that remain genuinely uncertain from where you currently stand. It simply invites genuine, consistent engagement with this practice, trusting that whatever benefit it genuinely offers will become progressively more visible through continued, sustained practice over time, rather than requiring immediate, complete transformation within this single reflection alone. There is one more layer worth adding before this message truly comes to its close, something practical that ties everything shared today into sustained, meaningful engagement over the coming weeks and months ahead, ensuring this reflection actually translates into a genuinely different, more grateful relationship with your ongoing daily life rather than remaining simply another moment of temporary inspiration quickly forgotten. Consider what specific obstacles are most likely to arise as you attempt to sustain this gratitude practice beyond today, obstacles worth anticipating now rather than being caught entirely unprepared when they eventually arise. Perhaps simple forgetting, the practice gradually fading from conscious intention amid the ordinary demands of daily life. Perhaps skepticism resurfacing during more difficult periods, questioning whether this kind of practice genuinely matters or produces any real, meaningful benefit when circumstances feel genuinely challenging. Perhaps simply busyness, days becoming so full that even brief moments of gratitude reflection feel difficult to genuinely prioritize and protect. Whatever specific obstacle feels most likely for your own particular circumstances, briefly considering how you might respond to it in advance can help you sustain this practice more effectively than simply hoping motivation alone will prove sufficient without any additional structure or advanced preparation and planning. Contemplate what genuine benefit you might reasonably expect from sustaining this kind of practice over an extended period, benefit that extends beyond simply whatever specific blessing this particular reflection has already helped you identify and appreciate. Increased overall capacity for genuine appreciation, even amid difficult circumstances. Improved relationships, as genuine gratitude naturally tends to strengthen connection and mutual appreciation within relationships where it becomes consistently, genuinely present and expressed. Greater overall resilience, since a foundation of consistent gratitude often provides genuine, practical support during future periods of significant challenge and difficulty. Consider, too, what specific role this practice might play in how you raise or influence younger people in your life, whether children, younger family members, or others who look to you, even informally, as some kind of model for how to navigate life's genuine complexity. Modeling genuine, consistent gratitude, even amid real difficulty, often teaches these younger people something valuable about resilience and perspective that explicit instruction alone rarely manages to convey as effectively as consistent, lived example. Explore what specific connection exists between this particular practice and your own broader sense of meaning and purpose, since genuine gratitude often naturally connects to larger questions about what matters most in your particular life, what you genuinely value, and how you want to spend whatever time and energy remains available to you throughout your ongoing life journey. Consider whether cultivating this practice more consistently might offer valuable insight into these larger questions, revealing through specific, concrete instances of genuine appreciation what actually matters most to you, information that might otherwise remain more abstract and difficult to access through purely intellectual reflection alone. Consider, as well, what specific role this practice might play in your relationship with whatever spiritual or religious framework, if any, genuinely resonates with your own particular worldview. For many people, gratitude functions as a natural bridge toward deeper spiritual connection, a practical, accessible practice that gradually opens toward larger questions of meaning, purpose, and connection to something beyond purely individual, isolated experience. If this particular framing resonates with your own worldview, consider how continued gratitude practice might genuinely deepen and enrich your broader spiritual life and ongoing practice moving forward. Reflect, finally, on what specific commitment feels genuinely sustainable for you personally, rather than adopting some elaborate, ambitious practice likely to be abandoned quickly once initial motivation naturally fades. Genuine, sustained practice, even if modest in scope, typically produces more lasting benefit than ambitious, elaborate practice that proves impossible to genuinely maintain over an extended period. Choose whatever specific practice feels realistically sustainable given your own particular life circumstances, schedule, and genuine capacity, trusting that even modest, consistent practice, maintained genuinely over time, will produce meaningful, cumulative benefit considerably exceeding what any single, isolated reflection like this one alone could ever fully provide. This message reached you today for a reason. Trust that. Carry it with you. And when you are ready, not before, not because anyone told you to, but when you are genuinely ready, take your next step. Deep down, you already know what that step is. Thank you for receiving this message today. Be gentle with yourself as you continue noticing and honoring whatever blessing exists within your life, one honest, grateful moment at a time.